Hey guys, Pro1701 here, and today we are going to talk about Season 18 of classic Doctor Who, some Tom Baker. So, the question I ask is, do you think Season 18 is good or bad, or where it falls in between for you? Now, we've already ranked Season 18, and we've also ranked Tom Baker's era, but I want to talk about why I like Season 18, because I do enjoy Season 18, and it's not Tom Baker's best season. I don't think it beats out any of the Hinchcliffe era. Where it falls on my list really does fluctuate, though, because I enjoy the season, and I love the fact that it's a very original season. There's no other season quite like it. It's very different from the Hinchcliffe era. It's very different from the Williams era, and it's very different from any of Peter Davison's run, too. So it really is its own thing. It's much more serious than the Williams era. It's very sciencey, does a lot of science, does a lot of real-world science, too. Really deals with entropy a lot, and it really does kind of get rid of the humor from the Williams era. Tom is not nearly his witty, wisecracking self here. He's much more serious in this, and the season really does have this feel of things coming to an end. It has a very funeralistic approach to it. It's almost like the whole season, in a way, even though each story is its own individual thing, it still is like building toward his regeneration. You know, classic Who really didn't make a big deal out of the Doctor regenerating the way the modern series done. You know, it's always basically an event when the Doctor regenerates in the modern series, to the point where it's actually very irksome at this point. There's always, you know, the big speech and everything. Whereas classic Who was more, it was just an adventure, sometimes a big adventure that the Doctor just happened to die at the end. He was fatally injured and died. He just had to regenerate at the end of that particular adventure. Season 18 is different. Logopolis very much does feel like it's building up his regeneration, like it is this grand thing building towards his regeneration. It's worked into it with everything going on with the Watcher and the Doctor learning what's coming. And even the season, to an extent, since it has that funeralistic feel to it, that approach to it, the whole season, really, when you go back and watch it, kind of to a degree feels like it's building to that moment. Because Tom himself looks much visibly older here than when we see him in Shada. It's almost like Tom has aged considerably in this. I always get the impression that there is a huge gap in time between Shada and the Leisure Hive, that Romana and the Fourth Doctor actually travel for quite a while, despite the Doctor still claiming to be only 750. We've done learned you can't ever really go by how old the Doctor thinks he is, because especially when you throw modern Who in the mix, that none of that really makes any sense. But the fact, you know, he's wearing a different outfit, him and Romana, with the Time Lords calling her back, they'd probably let her slide for a while before they went looking for her. The fact Tom's personality is a bit different here, he's much more somber and serious in tone. I really, in my head, can get that there's a huge passage of time between the end of Season 17 and where we pick up in Season 18. This is also a season where, over the course of the season, the whole cast changes. The cast we have at the very beginning of the season is completely different from the cast at the end of the season, if counting Tom regenerating to Peter in the last few seconds. Because Romana and K9 leave in Warrior's Gate, and of course Tom leaves at the end of Logopolis. And then we have all of the new companions, with Adric coming in, you know, a third of the way through the season, and then us picking up Nyssa close to the end, and Tegan right there at the last story. So we really see the cast fully switch around over the course of this. And I think of the 7 stories, which, a matter of fact, of all the seasons Tom did, this one has the most stories of any season he did, with 7. The only really bad one to me is the Leisure Hive. I don't care for it. I don't like the story. I don't like the execution. I just find the Leisure Hive uninteresting. Watchable. It's watchable. I've watched it more than once. I think I've watched it twice, actually. But I'm perfectly willing to go back and watch it again a third time a few years from now. It's not unwatchable. I just find it uninteresting. The rest of them, I think, are good to great. I think Meg Loss is really good. I've complained before that my only real issue with it is it's too short. It feels like it needed another episode or two, because the ending is very abrupt. I remember the first time I watched it, I was just like, that's it? It's over? Just that? He turned into the cactus and left, and that's it? Huh? Isn't there more? Let me check that disc. It is only 4 episodes. What do you know? Tom has a couple humorous spots there, like when he sees his double and he's like, haven't I seen you somewhere before? But again, he's mostly a lot more serious in this one, in this whole season. But I like Meglos. I think it's underrated. Full Circle, I didn't like much the first time I watched it. I enjoyed it more the second time I watched it. It's kind of like Stones of Blood. Full Circle has aspects of it I don't like, and then aspects of it I do like. I actually don't mind Adric. Adric with Tom, I don't mind. I didn't find Adric a pain until with Peter. So in season 18, Adric is fine. I have no issues with him, really. What was the second one? State of Decay. I love State of Decay. State of Decay is the shining gem of season 18. I love State of Decay. I think it's one of Tom Baker's best stories. I like vampires, like cool vampires, not sparkly vampires, but cool vampires. I think the vampires give a good performance here. I think when they kill the head vampire at the end, that's not done well. That's really my only complaint with the story. The execution of them stopping the king vampire or whatever, I think's a little lacking. But other than that, I think it's a good script. I think it's a pretty good execution. I like Tom in this one. I like Tom figuring out the secrets about the castle and who the vampires are. I enjoy all of that. I think it's a well-written story. Again, it's a Terrence Dick script. I do like me some Terrence. I do like Uncle Terrence. He wrote some great Doctor Who. Matter of fact, I believe he did Horror of Fang Rock, which I just recently watched. Terrence can do horror so well in Doctor Who. It's a shame they never got him to write for the modern series. I really wish he had done a modern series story. After State of Decay, we have Warrior's Gate, which I really enjoy. I love the execution of Warrior's Gate. I like the ideas. I think there's a lot of good ideas in it, especially time travel aspect-wise. It's with the kind of cat people. I find them really fascinating. But the execution of it's really good. I like how it's realized on screen. I think it does pretty well for its time. It does look very dated now, but for its time, I find some of the effects really impressive. This is one, if it had come out in the modern series, I really wonder what it would have looked like. The direction the director would have chosen to put those kind of effects that the script calls for on screen. This is one, if they did a similar story in the modern series, I'd be really interested in it, because I'm curious how they would realize it in 2021. But I do like it. I think it's a good exit for Romana, a good exit for K9, and a good story, for the most part. I do find the crew very two-dimensional and a bit hammy. The actual crew of the ship, I don't think they're very well fleshed out, and I think they're kind of acted two-dimensionally. But that's really the only complaint I have. I like Keeper of Traken. I think it's another one of my favorite stories of the season. I really like Anthony Ainley as Tremas. I really think he does a great job in that. Very regal, a very noble man. Nyssa I like in this one. Nyssa's very forgettable for me in a lot of stories. They could have done so much more to flesh out her character, especially her interactions with the Master could have been so good. There's a huge story to tell there, and they never really went anywhere with it for the most part, outside of a little bit in Legopolis. So I really feel like she was underdeveloped, because she could have been a really great character. But I like Keeper of Traken. I think it's a really, really good story with a few little quibbles. And then Legopolis I like. It's not my favorite Regeneration story, but I like it. Again, it has a very much a funeralistic approach to it specifically. You really have this sense of something coming to an end, an era coming to an end. But the Doctor goes out saving almost all of the universe. And he gets one final moment where he gets to use his scarf to trip somebody, so that's always nice. I like the fact that he doesn't really have a big speech. He just has a couple lines. He says, it's the end, but the moments have been prepared for. Which, again, is a famous quote and is referenced a lot of times by Doctor Who fans. So I like the fact that it's simple, but it's still very profound. I'll put it that way. I like Legopolis. It's kind of in the middle to me. It's definitely not the worst Regeneration story. It's definitely not the best Regeneration story. It's kind of just somewhere in between. I don't know quite where I'd put it. It's a good story. Not a great story, but a good story. I like it. So, yeah, I enjoy the season as a whole. Again, I like the fact it's different. It does its own thing. I like some of the ideas it's trying to do. Some of them I think it pulls off really well. And I think it's a good last season for Tom. Again, he's much more somber in it. Unlike some people, I don't think he slept his way through it. You know, some people criticize Tom for that final season. Well, you can tell he wasn't trying anymore. He was just phoning it in. I don't really get that. I think perhaps he was a little fed up and ready to go. Obviously, he didn't like J&T very much, we know. But I still feel like he's doing a good job in most of his scenes. I mean, maybe every now and then I see something, I'm like, But for the most part, I still think he's giving it his all. And if not his all, 80%, I think he does a really good job in this season. He's just, his character is written a bit different. He's again, not quite as witty and funny as sharp as we're used to from the Williams era, and even earlier than that. He's just written, it's like he's aged more. Kind of like how a person at 40 is not the same person they were at 25, for example. So that's my thoughts on that. Season 18, I like it. Not my favorite Tom Baker season by far, but I still really enjoy it. I think it's a great watch. I enjoy revisiting it. What do you think of season 18? Comment down below and let me know whether you think it's good, whether you think it's bad, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. Give me your thoughts on season 18. I would like your opinion on it. Other things to do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the bell for notifications so you never miss out on a new video. I've also started a Patreon if you would like to become one of my patrons on that. There's a link to that down below. My entry-level tier is only $2 a month, and I do, I think through the month of June, I'm actually allowing even my basic $2 patrons access to stuff that's usually reserved for higher tiers. If you would like to check that out and see some bonus videos and vote in polls and stuff like that. Most importantly though, stay safe out there, and thank you for watching.